and he held his nose, somehow got an airlock open, and went through some space.
Right.
You know, with that kind of cold, with no air, decompressing, the whole thing. Could that be done?
It could be done, but you're going to look. You're not going to be feeling and looking too well at the end of it all. Your capillaries at the top of the skin are just about going to swell and explode from the pressurization process, and the cold will actually burn you almost like fire. So it'd be, you could do it, but you look like you've been, you've had massive exposure to frostbite.
So what they showed, though, in that movie would actually be possible. I mean, it was only a very few seconds, and he held his breath.
They were good about doing that. And one other technical aspect they did for that movie is they were technically correct. A lot of explosion stuff flying everywhere, and you heard nothing.
That's right. In most modern movies, for some reason, they feel they have to put in the sound of an explosion.
It's called entertainment.
Yeah, but there would be no sound, huh?
No sound. There was sound as soon as he got to the switch and hit the door and the air started rushing in, you heard that. Because then you can have sound waves being carried by the incoming air.
So I've always wondered about that. So he could have actually, that could have been done.
That could have been done, and he was a little bit better off because he was blowing inward to a enclosed space of the ship, which he had just opened that door, so there would be some ambient heat from the hull of the ship itself. So he could have probably come out of there looking pretty good as fast as he did it and quickly as he got in. I think that part was technically correct. But if he was exposed for more than, I think that whole scene lasted for him maybe 3 or 4 seconds. But if you were exposed maybe, 30 seconds or more, you're going to be in some serious trouble.
Okay. If we are ever to go to another star system, I think Alpha Centauri would probably be the closest, wouldn't it?
Well, that's debatable, but yeah, right now for the star systems, that one would be one that is nearby.
How long, at sublight, just sublight, if we don't say that Einstein, that there's some kind of super relativity, and we can't go faster than light.
Right.
If we were to go to Alpha Centauri, how long would it take us to get there?
With our conventional engines?
Yeah.
At the speed we go now, like when we went to the moon?
Well, I would assume, and maybe I shouldn't, that even with conventional engines, we can build up, if we want to, a lot more velocity than we had going to the moon.
That's true. If you carry more fuel and keep burning, you definitely will build up more speed.
Or even if you used some sort of slow, what is it, ion propulsion, or something that would build up velocity slow but sure.
It all would depend on which type of propulsion system you're using, velocity. You could be looking, but if you're not anywhere near light speed, which even at light speed, you're still looking at several years travel time at 186,000 miles a second. But if you're down below to where we're at or anywhere around the type engines, you're talking hundreds of years.
Hundreds of years?
Right.
Okay. If it would take hundreds of years, then you would need generations.
Yes.
You would need sex and procreation in space.
If you want someone alive when you get there at our present lifespan, you would.
Or to either try to communicate with us, or to come back eventually.
Right.
Now, do they really know yet whether, I suppose sex in space is possible, but would a human fetus, grow normally in a zero-G environment or a partial zero-G environment? In other words, could we do it?
There's some study and thought's been given to that. Obviously, no actual experimentation has been done, at least by the American space program, because that's prohibited.
Why?
Well, there's I feel that the situation you would have to have a fertilized female up there in space.
Yeah.
And it's never been, I guess, politically correct to have a mother full term in space. There's computer scenarios that has been run. I guess what governed a lot of this is that there are several possibilities. One is that the child will be normal due to the fact that we're already born into a womb, which is filled with a liquid, so we're kind of in a suspended state anyhow.
Right.
So that everything would be just pretty much normal without any difference.
Right.
Other possibility, there could be really gross deformities. Child could be dead, could be a moron, could be all kinds of problems. But then there was another interesting scenario that came at the other end of the table and scale, and this may have been the one why nobody wanted to deal with it, is that when the human brain is developing, it's a mass of electrical impulses and electrochemical occurrences and growing. And these organs and systems are vastly affected by a weightless environment.
Right.
There's a possibility that a child could develop to a level that you may have a problem with, come back with an IQ into the thousands, maybe using 50, 60, 80% of their brain power, which might be a little problem for us because the child may not have some different ideas and may not interface with society that way.
Well, there's a very basic question that would have to be answered. If you had a child and then an adult with an IQ in the thousands, whether it would even come back.
That, or if it come back, what kind of attitude it's got, or there's a lot of unknowns there. So,
well, the premise, and I always wondered about this again in 2001. In effect, everybody argued about the end of that movie, but
right.
I always thought that he was himself, in effect, godlike, coming back to judge Earth. Now, a lot of people had different takes on that.
Right.
But that's kind of what happened to him, in a way, isn't it?
Yeah, that was, the people followed the technological flow pretty closely in that movie. If you watched it, of all science fiction movies, that's one been so well respected because they really right down to no sound when you explode in a vacuum. They got that idea through the scenario test I was talking about. When they saw that a child out there could develop in space, be totally different. Still look humanoid, but his brain would be totally, vastly different than ours. So he would have tremendous capabilities. Wouldn't it force
an immediate, almost immediate, certainly within a few generations, it would force a very fast evolutionary change because conditions would be so different.
Well, see, you'd fit right in with the policy meetings, I'm telling you, because you're hitting right on the sore toe area.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because, see, if we did something like that and a child came back like that, you're gonna rock a lot of institutions on the planet.
Oh, we'd kill it.
Yeah,
we'd kill it.
You'd shake people right down to their Baptist belt buckle.
Oh, absolutely. There would be, we would probably nail them to a cross, or at least the modern version of that.
Well, or if we ever got the chance, they could have telekinesis power and teleportation and everything else and just simply think you away and you're gone. So that was this whole thing led to a speculation that it's an area they just didn't want to get into. So that's why, to answer your question, there was serious thought about these scenarios. And like I said, it's still unknown. Nobody can prove it right or wrong, but they just didn't want to get into that situation.
Let me ask you this, David.
Yeah.
Want an honest answer.
Okay.
If we were to launch something like that,
mm-hmm.
would there be on board a destruct system that could be activated from Earth? And would the people on board be aware of it?
That's it. That's an interesting comment now. That would they be aware of it? I don't know if you knew this, but every flight we have ever flown from the Cape has a self-destructive explosives package on board.
You're kidding.
Oh, I have to. What are you going to do? Let a Challenger head toward Orlando? You cannot have a space shuttle arcing back into a landmass. When it does, the override person will be the flight safety range officer of the United States Air Force at Cape Canaveral side.
You're telling me if it was coming down on a landmass toward a city, it
won't even make it over the landmass.
They would blow it up?
Absolutely. And
with people on board?
Sure. That's standard operation. Everybody knows that.
I didn't know that.
Well, yeah, that's the way it is. All the astronauts know that. If you lose control of your craft and it starts arcing back into the landmass, you won't even make it over the beach. They'll detonate you out over the water.
What?
You'll be gone.